Hello, good evening and welcome to the Hot Seat. In the Hot Seat tonight we have Mr. Basil Fernando, a director at the Asian Human Rights Commission based in Hong Kong. Good evening, Mr. Fernando.
Good evening.
And thank you for being in the Hot Seat. In this ambience of a grave public concern and consternation as to what's going on in the central bank and the bond matter and the proceedings at COPE at the Parliamentary Watchdogs Committee, I wanted to ask you, where does one draw the line? What is fair comment, and where does defamation, where does it sort of one finishes and the other starts?
See, it's very important because we are not only dealing with the normal issues of fair trial in terms of between the two individuals about some private matter. When it comes to matters of public interest, the area of fair comment is very large. Because ultimately we are dealing with what should be the proper policy, what should be the what should serve the best interest of the public. So a comment which is directed towards achieving that end, and which is not motivated by anything else. Where the distinction between the fair comment and not comes in is where malice is involved. Those are, you know, those will bring a very important issue. This is very, very important. See the whole question of these defamation issues in our law is on the Roman Dutch law. We are not one of those countries where there is this idea that a company is equal in every way to a human person.
So what you're saying is that under our law there is a distinction between a corporate body and a individual. In terms of defamation.
In terms of defamation, in terms of, you know, the idea that a company is a person is a limited concept.
Right.
For certain transactions, certain things. It is not the same as being a human individual, and the idea of reputation, idea of the it is not the same, and that makes a huge difference, because the ultimately it comes in deciding on malice. See whether when there are issues of enormous importance, when there is nothing, I think, in our type of society more important than the regulatory framework of finance. The backbone of our society, the credibility of all transactions, commerce, the development issues, and the stability of society depends on the credibility of the regulatory framework.
Right.
And maintaining of the regulatory framework is of utmost important for anybody who is concerned with public interest. That collapse, everything collapses.
Right.
We know the whole financial crisis in the United States, and behind that were policies pursued by the banks which were wrong, and wrong policies to an extent that the whole system collapsed. Entire global financial system, financial systems can collapse, and nothing can you know, bring about disaster to a society than a financial system collapse. It means not just a little bit of interest increase in the prices or anything like that. Whole the business can come to a standstill. So the discussions on the regulatory framework should be you know, encouraged to the utmost. Now that is where while our idea of person differs from the American concept, which will also may change.
Yeah.
See, one of the big issues of this election
Yeah.
In the US,
Yeah.
is that the Democratic Party
Yeah.
has promised to the people that they will bring about amendment to the present amendment that exists in the Constitution, which brought this equality of same rights for an individual person, human person, as a company, which the corporate sector developed for their own benefit. So one of the promises of this election by the Hillary Clinton, if she wins, is that there will be an amendment to limit that.
I see. That's a very important one.
That's a very important one, because it is on that lot of crises in the world is happening, because all the companies are claiming that they are equal to a human person. They must have all the rights.
Right.
Now that creates all the unfairness, huge amount of unfairness, and the people have rebelled against that. So there was a large scale support in the Democratic Party for that, and she had to promise that there will be an amendment on this. Now that is one aspect where we differ from the American law. But there is an area where we need to more imitate the American law, that is in the First Amendment, right of free speech.
Right.
See, the one strength of the American system lies in this amendment, that all matters of speech should be as much freedom as possible. You cannot just bring in either morals or defamation and into all kinds of ways. But then you get the difference in the one big difference that was experimented is in Singapore, Lee Kuan Yew.
Yeah.
In Lee Kuan Yew's time, if you say that this government has not doing anything properly, defamation, and the Prime Minister himself will come to the court, and the court system virtually had to bow to the Prime Minister. And on the one hand, the independence of judiciary was highly downgraded.
Yeah.
On the other hand, there was no free speech.
Right.
Everybody is afraid to say anything.
Right.
Because the courts will give huge sums, and this whole idea of demanding huge sums for as defamation.
Yeah.
See, these are things which are associated with greater values, and even the quantums of are determined in terms of the values. One example I can give to you from another branch.
Yeah.
You remember the famous Tony Fernando case in Sri Lanka?
Yeah.
Where a man went before court when Sarath Nanda Silva was the Chief Justice. And he objected Sarath Nanda Silva hearing his case.
Right.
He said, let there be another judge in this place.
Shall we go for a short break and then come back and you can relate us the story of that very interesting tale. Do stay tuned, don't go away. This is the Hot Seat. Welcome back to the Hot Seat with tonight Mr. Basil Fernando, Director at the Asian Human Rights Commission based in Hong Kong. Mr. Fernando, tell us, continue with your story about...
it's related to this whole theme of value systems in a society. So despite of his protest, Mr. Sarath Nanda Silva said, no, I'm hearing the case.
Right.
And then he was asked, what do you want? So he said, I want to be treated like anybody else under the Article 12.1, equality clause. Then he was told, for every word you speak from now, I'm going to add 1 month imprisonment to the punishment that I'm about to give you. And he was sentenced for 1 year of rigorous imprisonment on that, under saying that this is a contempt of court.
Right.
Similar kind of. It is contempt of court is like the defamation of the court.
Right. Okay.
So the issue went before the Human Rights Committee, United Nations Human Rights Committee. Human Rights Committee held that this is a completely unacceptable level, even if there was they didn't decide on the issue whether there was any kind of attempt to defame the court.
Right.
So even if it was,
Right.
he said this is by the you just keep him in the morning and you send him off in the evening. That's the kind of punishment that is for this kind of things.
Right.
You don't have bloated punishments, and these are suppression of freedoms.
Right.
That is what Singapore what they did. They gave huge sums. So what will happen is there's the opposition guy who is very active, which was very few in Singapore. Virtually they develop a one-party system, allowing a small 1 or 2 people in the parliament. And even if that guy raised one question, then defamation, and then gives a huge sum as to be paid. Naturally, he cannot pay, so then he will declare himself bankrupt. And then after in the Hong Kong law, if you are bankrupt, you cannot be a member of parliament and hold public office. So whole thing was silencing people.
I see.
See, this is why silent societies are being created.
Yes. Do you think that there is an attempt on the part of anybody in this government to try and do the same stunt with the people here?
I think from the beginning this was there. So the only thing is, in the past, the attempt was made to muzzle out by direct violence. One of the good things that happened from the January 8th, 2015, is that the overt violence, arrest, detentions, torture, enforced disappearances. Now, this kind of thing has not, we cannot see that. So there's a change, and that has increased the space for the people. And the people are making use of that situation. So where you do not want to use that method of violence, once another way can be developed by making use of things like defamation.
Right.
And particularly to the media. You see, with the last government, one big issue was the media. So the idea of their dealing with media was to physically, deal with.
Yeah.
We have cases of editors being killed and all kinds of
networks being stoned, Claymore bombed.
Yeah.
And the subject of nasty
and
words.
People, taken in the van and broken their legs and thrown onto the street and all that kind of situation. And there was protest, and that is one of the reasons I think the people went against the government. So now when the freedom is there, naturally people will also use it to defend their rights, and that's a normal thing. For example, just now the people in Nikambo, they are saying that this whole project about the harbour city, can affect the fishing industry.
No, because of the
dragging of sand in areas where the fish, the various kinds of species put their eggs, and so they are protesting that this should not happen in that way. So that is natural for anywhere where there is space for speech to discuss their own problem. So it was very natural for people to begin to discuss about the financial framework of the country, monetary backbone of the country, because we have become a heavily indebted nation. And all attempts that we do to develop, despite of what we talk about develop, ends up in all kinds of the payment.
I think they all end up in all sorts of committees.
That's right.
And subcommittees, and never any action.
Now, if you look at from an action point of view, I can tell you what would have happened once this whole discussion starts with the leaking of a paper from the central bank, where they make allegations of certain things. So some people who are interested in public interest, seeing that there is such a thing exists, bring it to the notice and calling for discussions and expressing their view. Well, this is what we think, that there should be inquiry into these matters and action should be taken.
Right. On that note, we'll take another short break. We'll be right back. Don't go away. This is the Hot Seat. Welcome back to the Hot Seat, where we have Mr. Basil Fernando, Director at the Asian Human Rights Commission based in Hong Kong, with us tonight. Mr. Fernando, what's going on?
See, from this point of view, what we have been discussing in this whole issue, I think two matters are, for us as a human rights people involved in the human rights field,
yes,
are important in this for future development. One is, we would like to see in this country the courts and others adopting a development of the law relating to defamation, which will limit the scope of the so-called defamation, in terms of defending public interest and the need of the society, which has been a silent society for many years. We have been silenced from at least from about 1978. We had a long period of intimidation, long periods of people being suppressed. So if we want democracy, good governance is possible only in a society where people speak freely. That's the first condition of good governance. Because if the people speak freely, that society, people themselves do their correction. Yeah. You know, nobody should feel bad about criticism, because this is the way the societies correct themselves. So if we have a bad past,
yeah,
then there is no way we can correct ourselves unless we talk freely. So on the one hand, the strictly developing,
yeah,
in the area of defamation, the whole concepts of public interest, modern law being brought in order to defend our way of life being a democratic way of life. This is one area that we need to see development in this country. Second area we need to see a development is that the First Amendment approach in the United States of freedom of speech is getting into all the areas. Not to stifle discussion by anything like some countries say, oh, it's a moral issue, you can't discuss. Oh, there's a religious issue, you can't discuss. All that kind of limitations which are brought in, which take away from the most important thing for that society to have. So the American courts, even when there was a very scandalous cases. One of those cases was, there was one guy who was publishing all the naked pictures and all this of women and things like that.
Right.
So they said, no, this is a violation of, people protested and tried to bring them into court, saying that this is a violation of freedom, this is not the way, we must. The court held, no, if you do this, you will stifle, there's much worse evil. It is true, this guy should not do this. But he should decide that himself. But if he does, if you don't want, don't buy that paper, destroy that by non-cooperation. But don't destroy by intimidation, by making use of the law. The law should not be made use of as an instrument of repression.
Right.
Now this is what we should fight for in this country.
In the last government, we had some newspapers being sued by state officials. I think the amount claimed was ₹1 billion. But patently, if one had to look at that particular newspaper operation, they would have had to shut down. If they'd lost, it had to be shut down. Is that a case to say that that is intimidation?
Yeah, that is virtually, that is why this whole approach began to develop. Even if they, even in a court in Canada or court in United States, even if they come into some saying that there is some defamation or something, they will order $1, compulsory as a gesture. That's what I told you. That the whole approach the Human Rights Committee took on the contempt of court issue.
Yeah.
They said, well, this man should have been kept on from the morning to the evening and sending off.
Right.
So there's a value systems involved underneath. So the Singapore approach of stifling, all discussions, all criticisms by imposing heavy financial sentences and defining defamation as broadly as possible. Anything, any criticism. Now that is,
that's not acceptable.
Yeah, we should resist this from the very beginning. It's a matter that involves all of us. We must have a right to speak freely. If not, none of these things that we talk about can be achieved. We talk about development.
Yeah.
We talk of all good governance, and about all that we speak about a decent society.
Indeed.
Where with the whole crime and sexual abuse of people, now say if you bring the same idea of into financial matters, if we can't discuss, somebody else can also bring up and say no, this women can't come and complain about sexual harassment.
Right.
That's also other man can get defamed and all that kind of thing. So we will be all development that we are trying to achieve, equality of people.
Yeah.
All will be in trouble. So there is much more at stake in this discussion than one single issue.
Thank you for that, Mr. Fernando. I notice you've brought a book along with you. What's the book about?
Yeah, this latest book I have published. This title in Sinhalese is Dharma Sokage Dhamma Pratipatya Prajatantravadi Vatinakam, which means the policy of Dhamma, of the Dharma Soka, and the values in a democracy.
Yeah.
What I'm trying to show is that early part of Sri Lankan history, from about 3rd century BC up to about 5th century BC, we had a concept of state which was brought by the Venerable Mahinda, the close son or a close family member of Asoka. When he brought Buddhism, he just need not bring only a religion. He brought Dharma Soka's concept of a state.
I see.
Which is a state that is a trust to the people. And that the essential quality of the state is social responsibility. And this culture prevailed in Sri Lanka till about 8th century. With the invasions that take place later, around 8th century, even people like Martin Wickramasinghe has noted there was a collapse of the Sri Lankan civilization around 8th century, which lasted till its effect are even today.
Right.
But the in between was a certain philosophy that was introduced from India, which was the very opposite of the Buddhist conception.
Right.
And this was the product of a philosopher called Adisankar. Adisankar philosophy was the world is an illusion, Maya. See, everywhere in culture, you go anywhere, people, everything is Maya.
Right.
So this Maya philosophy got into everything. As a result, that whole culture that was there, together with that grew the caste system.
Right.
From 8th century to the British times, and later even, the caste system came. What does caste system means? It is that there's a very small thin layer of people above the law. The rest of them are treated by what is called disproportionate punishment.
Right.
Small guy doing a small thing is punished with a big punishment.
Right.
A big man doing with a huge wrong is no punishment.
Right.
It became part of our culture.
So that's the anomaly.
And that is why we resist criticism. Big people can't take criticism. Now today, if you live in Australia or Canada or United States, you will find that the people throw eggs at Prime Minister or a big politician. If he can't take it, he's finished. The idea is, bigger you are, more you should be ready for criticism. That's the idea.
That's the idea.
The bigger the stake involved in an issue, like for example financial framework of a country.
Yeah.
Bigger the scope of that, bigger should be the scope of the freedom of speech.
Thank you, Mr. Basil Fernando, for that, and we do look forward to having you on our network whenever you're in Sri Lanka again. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you very much for viewing the Hot Seat. We'll be back here the same time, same place, on TV1 at 9:30 on Wednesdays. Take care. Good night.